Welcome in, everybody, to another week of UFL Weekly. I am Kyle Krajewski, joined by Mr. Beautiful, Mr. Fantastic, Zach Cole. And we're coming at you 2 weeks delayed. We took 2 weeks off. It was a combination of schedule mishaps and just the two of us being out of town. But we made it work this week finally, so we're back to preview week 6. Zach, how you doing, my man?
I'm doing pretty well. I'm glad we can get back on the horse again this week. It's actually funny, Kyle. I kind of have a little bit of a flawless segue into one of our talking points here. As many people know, I coach football. I coach high school football, and we actually took a trip out to Oklahoma to learn some things from a school out there, and it was coincidentally kind of aligned with a big announcement for the UFL about Oklahoma itself. So I'm not going to say I was the main influence, but I like to think I played a pretty big part. No, of course I'm only joking, but yeah, no, some big news coming out of the UFL. Kyle, I'll toss it back to you to go ahead and introduce that as we get into our meat and potatoes here.
Yeah, we decided to take a 2 week mini break here, and of course, that's when the UFL kind of decided to just go news wild on us. Um, I think the biggest one here is that OKC, Oklahoma City, was announced as an expansion team for the 2028 season, being the ninth team in the UFL ecosystem. Uh, Currently, no branding has been announced. Just that Oklahoma City, you're getting a team in 2 seasons. No news on a 10th team or where that 10th team may be. So they're just leaving us with a whole bunch of speculation until then. But for now, OKC getting a team in 2028. It's huge.
It is huge. It's a pretty big deal, and I think it's really cool that I think we're going to see some fan involvement here too, in terms of getting
Yeah.
them named and branded and all of that good stuff. Which that's all you can ask for from the league. You know, that's the league, kind of the experimental league here, where we're trying to get new rules, new all that kind of stuff. So it's cool to see that they're involving fans in this decision.
Yeah, there's a big thing here is that the community is going to get a kind of hand in naming this team. So again, no branding's been announced, but I think in the coming year, probably this whole off season, it'll be a whole charade of which like who wants to like how what should we name this team and all that stuff. You also mentioned rules. The UFL also, this was 2 weeks ago, but following week 3, they had a an overtime that was essentially decided by penalties. Uh, Almost immediately, the league swooped in, was like, you know what, we're making changes to our overtime rules, basically saying penalties now simply move the ball closer to the end zone rather than rewarding or awarding an automatic score, which is kind of what took place in that Orlando Louisville finish in week 3. Other news here is that the UFL has announced the name of their championship. So instead of the Super Bowl, we have the United Bowl, officially coming to Audi Field in DC. Will take place Saturday, June 13th, and announced just in time as the Defenders are currently on a freaking roll, just playing some of the
Hmm.
best football I think we've seen in this season for the past few weeks. Last thing
Yeah,
here.
it's
Oh yeah, go for it.
sorry, Kyle. I just wanted to jump in really quick. It's absolutely shocking to see. We talked a little bit pre-show about the point differentials right now, and they are just blowing teams out of the water. And had they
Yeah,
not had a down week in week one where they only scored 10 points, I mean that they're averaging like 30 something points a week right now. With them being more likely to score 40 than they are to score less than that, which is just kind of absurd. So yeah, it's great for them that they hopefully will be hosting a championship this year, because they might be able to
hey, they might be in it.
pull a little situation where they're hosting their own championship, which would be pretty cool and electric for them. So something to look forward to as the season continues to progress here. But they're sitting pretty atop the standings right now.
Yeah, right now we've got DC and Orlando tied atop the rankings here. or the standings, both at 41 or not 41 at 4-1. DC with a 76-point differential and Orlando with a 35-point differential. But every team is within a 2-game slot of a playoff spot. So again, every team's alive. Every team's got a win. The season's looking good.
Mm-hmm.
And
That's the
then,
beauty of this point in the season too, is that
yeah,
everyone is still alive. I mean, it's luckily we don't have anyone at the O for standing right now. But as we continue to progress, we're getting into week 6 here, 7, 8, 9. We're going to see some of those bottom teams start dropping out. So it's kind of imperative that Louisville, Houston, Columbus, Birmingham all look to pick up some wins in these upcoming weeks here.
yeah, and I think they should, as I think they all kind of face each other in these coming weeks. So
Mm-hmm.
looking good for some wins down there. Uh,
Definitely. Yep.
just gonna kind of say these just because we missed them 2 weeks ago, but we had a huge kind of QB shuffle take place a few weeks ago. Kind of teams basically saying like, "Look,
Mm-hmm.
we need to make some changes here." Birmingham got DTR from Orlando, Zach's big QB guy going into the
My guy.
season,
Mm.
in exchange for Matt Corrals now in Orlando and D end Amani Bledsoe. Louisville sent Jason Bean to DC for backup quarterback Mike DeLillo. Chandler Rogers now the QB1 for the Kings. They kind of saw Rogers step in and were like, you know what, this is our guy. Make some shifts here
Mm-hmm.
at QB. I think initially, quite honestly, DC might have been a little bit not panicking, but saying like, all right, maybe we need to have a little safety here behind Teamu. But now Teamu's kind of, I feel like feeling that pressure from behind him, and it's just like, all right, yeah, no, okay, I gotta cook here, and he has been. The big one here is, I would say, is that Dallas sent Luis Perez to St. Louis for OT. Corey Stewart, Luis
Mm-hmm.
Perez, kind of being a mainstay there in Dallas, but finding a new home in St. Louis. I think currently it's still up in the air on who starts this upcoming week. I think all signs point to Harrison Frost being the QB for St. Louis this week, but Perez, I think, if not this week, might maybe next week if St. Louis is really looking for that QB change. Perez is more than able to step in as the guy. So 3 QB trades, all or yeah, 3 trades, 4 QBs, all announced like within 2 days. Big league shakeup taking place there, but this is old news. This took place 2 weeks ago, so apologies for the delay on that one. So without further ado, now that we're all caught up here, first off, hello, happy to be back, my fellow listeners and viewers. Let's talk week 6. Kicking off our weekend here, we have the St. Louis Battlehawks taking on the Louisville Kings in Louisville to kick off the Kentucky Derby weekend. This game is a Thursday night game, so as of this recording, it is tomorrow night. As of release, it is tonight, because this episode will release on Thursday morning. The over-under set here at 45.5. Spread favors the Battlehawks at -3.5. So if you're in Louisville for the Derby, hey, go check out a football game. Or if you're in town for the Kings game, go take a visit to the Derby. Same weekend. Uh, both teams right now are feeling pretty hot right now. We have the Kings on a 2-game win streak, and the Battlehawks getting kind of their bearings back after a loss to DC, getting a big win last week. Louisville, yeah, just demolished Dallas 47-19. Um, right now, again, I mentioned this a little bit a minute ago, but the big QB question is who's going to start between Perez and Frost. Frost won the Orlando game, kind of taking down I think handing Orlando their first loss of the season. So that was a huge one. Or no. Yeah. What? Yes. Sorry. I keep seeing Perez. I keep thinking Dallas. I'm throwing myself off here.
A
St. Louis.
staple. He's moved elsewhere. It's
Yeah.
killing
Oh
us.
my God. All right. St. Louis just stunned Orlando, handing them their first loss, but that was with Frost in at QB. So I think St. Louis is kind of like, how do we step away from that? But they also did trade for Perez. Um, I
Mm,
think I think we're going to see Frost step into this game, but I don't see. I can envision a realm where he maybe has a slow start and they throw Perez in. Um, Another name here is that Hakeem Butler is the most dangerous receiver in the league. Uh,
mm-hmm,
358 yards on the season, 27.5 yards per catch. Uh, he only had 3 catches last week. He's due for a big one, but the man had a massive game the other week against DC. Uh, Chandler Rogers for Louisville needs to protect the ball a little bit against this league's best pass rush in Louisville or in St. Louis. Chandler Rogers, the Louisville quarterback, needs to protect the ball against this pass rush in St. Louis. Uh, he was pretty clean last week, 72% completion percentage, no turnovers, but I think St. Louis is going to test that this week.
mm-hmm.
Meanwhile, the Louisville, it's the Lewises, it's the Louis. They're throwing me off. Louisville's defense is on fire. They had 4 interceptions last week with 2 pick sixes. Frost, though, has 5 interceptions on the season, second most in the UFL. So this might be pretty solid defensive matchup. I think we were talking before this recording, Zach, about what our game of the week is, and we'll probably put this label on at the end of all these games. But we were really debating here St. Louis versus Louisville because this might be probably the most even matchup.
Mm.
But I, I mean, both of them, St. Louis 3-2, Louisville 2-3, uh, both coming off some really big wins last week. I think we're in for an interesting one, to say the least, to kick off the
Mm-hmm.
week here on Thursday night. So without further ado, Zach, over under set 45.5, spread at St. Louis -3.5. What picks you got for me?
Well, before I get into my pick, I just want to shout out Hakeem Butler really quick. He's really kind of been popping off lately, and it's funny. I keep seeing tweets on X, or well, posts on X. I guess they're not tweets anymore, but how is this guy not in the NFL? And he's a prototype and everything. So, I mean, quick shout out to Hakeem Butler. Just keep balling, keep doing you, because I mean, people are noticing it. So, I would love to see him get a shot. I always thought he was pretty outstanding from his time when he was at Iowa
Always.
State getting
Yeah.
drafted in the league. So, even though I love my guy Hakeem Butler, I think I'm going to go and take a little bit of Derby magic this weekend, and I think I'm going to take Louisville +3.5 in this one. I think that they've kind of found some magic with Chandler Rogers, and moving on from Jason Bean was I think probably a healthy thing because it kind of gave them the ability to find their guy and invest in their guy. So I really like what I've seen from him, and if he continues to take care of the ball, even against a high pressure defense, I do think that they can come out of this game with a win. I don't know. I just like it. I think maybe there might be a little bit more of a home atmosphere this weekend with it being Derby weekend and all of that good stuff too. So all those things do definitely play a role and play a factor. So give me Louisville +3.5. As for the over under, I think I'm feeling the under in this one. I do think that these two teams are going to play a pretty closely contested game, and I think we should see some good back and forth football here. Not necessarily back and forth offensive football, but just kind of an affair where we're seeing a close game between two competitive teams. So I'm going Louisville +3.5, and I'm going to go ahead with the under in this one, under 45.5. What about you, Kyle?
I'm going to take St. Louis -3.5. I think they've got the juice here to kind of come away with this win and with a pretty sizable win. I'm also going to take the under, though. I'm with you there. I think we're just going to see some defense
Mm-hmm.
in this game. Unfortunately for us points lovers, I just think this is a matchup destined for defensive mojo. Um, so I'm St. Louis -3.5, but I'm joining you there on the under 45.5.
Kyle, does the quarterback situation concern you at all between Frost and Luis Perez?
No, I think Frost kind of handling that ball well, or I guess handling the game well against Orlando last week kind of helps me feel
Hmm.
more comfortable with him. I also have some, I guess, comfort picking St. Louis in that if they, I guess, fall behind early or Frost makes any mistakes, I feel like them throwing Perez in will kind of help them stay in the game, I guess, or win it
Hmm.
if they need to, if they can. So it almost feels like I feel comfortable. It's almost like I feel like no matter who's in, I feel comfortable with them winning. This is more of
Okay.
a I think I like St. Louis's defense a little bit more, kind of keeping them in this game a little bit more comfortably. Also having the weapon in Hakeem Butler, but I do think that it's kind of Louisville. I don't know. Louisville's tough. This is a tough game. This is why I like this game because
It
it
is
could
a
go
tough game.
both ways.
Hmm.
But I think I'm leaning St. Louis. I think that win last week against Orlando was a big one for them.
Okay, I can definitely respect that. All right, let's move on to our next game of the weekend. We have our lone Friday game here, Friday, May 1st, 8 p.m. on Fox. It is the Houston Gamblers at the Columbus Aviators. Does feel a little bit like deja vu because these two teams just played last week in a game where the final score was 17-13 in, I believe it was Houston's favor, if I remember correctly. So that is definitely kind of an interesting point because when we take a look at the point spread actually favors Columbus, who has a worse
Yeah,
record and is coming off the loss last week, which is a little bit bizarre. So Columbus is -5.5 in this game, and the over under is set at 45.5. Hold on one sec, Kyle. Let me just double check that because that seemed wild to me. Yeah, Columbus -5.5 on DraftKings right here.
yeah. I
So
keep looking for
a
like
couple key
there's
points.
big news or something. That's
Go ahead. Sorry. Yeah, hit me.
I keep looking if there's any like I don't know. Uh, is there a coaching change that we're not aware of? I'm not sure because I feel like that's such a sizable
it
difference for a rematch in a week that was the opposite outcome.
It does seem that way. But I mean, as far as we both have seen, it's still same quarterback, same
Yeah,
coaches, right? Pretty much everything looks status quo at this point.
yeah. McClendon, Henderson. Yeah, all looks good.
Hmm. All right. Well, not to belabor the point too much, but let me hit on a couple key storylines for this one. Columbus did kind of throw away that last week's game a little
Yeah,
bit late in the game.
maybe
They
that's
fumbled
why.
twice in the last couple minutes. Yeah, they just cannot protect the ball. They cannot take care of the ball. That was kind of one of the storylines we highlighted earlier on in the season in a couple of their matchups, and now it's coming back and it's rearing its head again. So Columbus needs to take care of the football if they want to stay in this game. Houston, on the other side, it started to establish the run game. They're averaging 123 yards a game, which is third in the UFL. But they run. Columbus has the worst rush defense in the league. So this could be a little bit of a rolling stone in this one if Houston can start establishing the run game early on. Malik Fisher did have 3 sacks last week against Jalen McClendon, sorry. And McClendon is the most sacked quarterback in the whole entire UFL at this point. So that's clearly another big issue for Columbus. So, I mean, a couple big things going, and they kind of do go hand in hand, but they're getting after the quarterback, they're getting after McClendon, and that's then resulting in fumbles, interceptions, just turnovers that are costing them and pulling them out of games. So, Columbus O-line does need to step up at this point, or things are going to continue on the negative trend that we are currently on. On the positive side, McClendon is top 3 in passing yards, completion percentage, and total offense. So, I mean, he's a baller. I think we saw that a little bit last year during his time under center and starting some games, but they just keep hurting themselves, and when they're allowing pressure on him, it's not pretty. So, Houston, on the other hand, the Gamblers do need to finish their drives. They keep getting down into the red zone, but they're just not punching the ball in when it matters. They're taking too many field goals and aren't putting points on the board. So this is two teams that are trying to kind of figure it out, trying to get themselves right at this point. Columbus is 1-4, and Houston's one game better at 2-3. So it's two teams still trying to kind of prove themselves, and like we mentioned at the top of the show, trying to kind of push themselves a little bit more towards that playoff push here in the last couple weeks of the season. So we're looking at one more time. Columbus, despite all these things working against them, are the favorites in this game at -5.5. The over/under is 45.5. So Kyle, as confusing as it might seem, where's your head at? What are your picks here?
5.5 is bonkers. If this were like 2.5,
It
it'd be
is.
so much easier.
Mm-hmm.
Because I'll come out and say I think Columbus wins this.
Mm,
I like Columbus in this one.
interesting. Okay.
You know, the home field advantage I think gives them that teeny tiny bump, but I also think Columbus, I mean, they figure out their turnover situation. Like they've got it, but no, give me Houston. Give me Houston
It,
5.5. That's way too much for what
mm.
a game that I think is between two close teams. I think 5.5 is too. That's ridiculous. So yeah, Houston 5.5 because I could. It's like if we could get stuck on this all night. Houston 5.5. I'm gonna go under 45.5 though. I don't think these are teams that. I mean, you mentioned Houston not finishing drives. I think it's kind
Mm-hmm.
of McClendon can run all over the field, but I, I don't see them putting up 40 points. But I hope they prove me wrong and put up 40 points just because I said that. So I'm going Houston plus 5.5 under 45.5.
I think I'm going to ride with you on both of those
Yeah,
picks. I mean, we only saw these two teams put up 30 points last week, and I
yeah.
don't know if there's two more touchdowns to be had between the two of them. Maybe we can see another touchdown and a field goal or something along those lines, but I just don't really see that getting over 45.5. And I'm with you on the spread as well. I think Houston is. I'll say I think they're probably going to win this one outright.
Oh,
I don't know. Nolan Henderson seems to be taking care of the ball,
yeah.
getting it done on the ground, getting it done through the air. I just he's not hyper efficient, but I mean the turnovers just scare me. And I think until Columbus can prove that they're able to take care of the ball at a higher clip, that then I'm still kind of going to fade them. I think so. Give me Houston -5.5. Give me the under in this game as well.
All right, boss. Third game this week, we have the Dallas Renegades in DC against the Defenders. Saturday, May 2nd at noon on ABC.
This is our other candidate for game of the week here. I
Yeah,
would say, right?
this is I think what I think this might be probably if you want to watch points get scored, this is the game to watch. Over under set at
Mm-hmm.
48.5. Spread favors DC at -3. We are witnessing a DC team that is on a 4-game win streak. We talked about this briefly at the beginning, but they are just past few weeks 45 points, 28, 45, 44. They are dominating, scoring points, and it's almost like they're just giving up offensive points, like just to be like, yeah, yeah, sure, you can try to catch up. You're not going to, but good luck. They demolished the Stallions last week, 45-28. That is a. They're making Birmingham really reconsider who the heck they are. Teamu's playing MVP football. Last week he had 275 yards, 4 touchdowns. A Dallas has to stop a QB who can beat you with both his arms and his legs. That's a tough. That's a tough one. Uh, Dallas has also given up 200 over 200 rushing yards in back-to-back losses. They started 3-0 and now are on a 2-game losing streak. So it's possible Teamu may not even have to throw it. DC will likely run it down their throat with Deion Jackson. Last week, I promise I'm not just like layering on like a DC DC DC. This is just how I have the notes written. Austin Reed turned the ball over 4 times last week again. with 2 pick sixes. We touched on that with St. Louis. DC's defense leads the league in sacks and is just ball hawking. More turnovers is just going to be brutal for this Dallas team. Uh, Tyler Vaughn's for Dallas hasn't had a big game in a few weeks. He was still leading the league in receiving yards, but has kind of been a little MIA the past few weeks. And DC currently again leads the league with the 76 point differential. This is right now the most complete team in the UFL, and just I mean, quite honestly, the storyline going into this game is if Dallas can keep up with DC. So Zach, I don't know if you have anything more to add, as I just went down the list and just said DC's going to win, DC's going to win, DC's going to win. Here's why, here's why, here's why. But DC currently is favored by 3. How do you feel about this? Oh, hold on. I think you got to refresh your page. At least that was a clean break.
All right, I think I'm good.
Oh, there you're good.
All right. I think you did a pretty good job of convincing everyone that I think we're all on the same page. I'm going DC in this one. I mean, they are just phew, blowing through teams right now and putting up a lot of points while doing it. So I think DC -3 is a pretty safe bet. And for that exact same reason, I think that the over in this one's a pretty safe bet too. I mean, shoot, the last couple of weeks, they've almost they've almost broke the over on their own without without the help of the opponent. So as long as Dallas isn't scoring 0 and getting shut out in this one, I don't really see a reason why this over doesn't feel like a pretty safe bet. I actually it's a high total, but I think this is probably one of my favorite bets of the week this week. So
The over? Yeah.
I feel like yeah, the over. I feel like I'm not really saying anything crazy here and assuming you're probably in a
Yeah.
similar mindset
Doubling
on these two picks.
doubling down on both of those. I'm
Yeah.
just I think I can't believe what's more egregious: Columbus being favored by 5.5 or DC only being favored by 3. But Vegas knows a lot more than me. Who knows?
It's, it's that damn Vegas. They always get
That
you, man.
damn Vegas.
They always have something up their sleeve, right?
They've always got something. They've got their hand in this somehow.
All right. Looking at our fourth and final game of the weekend, Kyle, we actually it's kind of wild. We have one game a day for 4 straight days. So this is our Sunday feature game here. It is a Sunday afternoon early evening game. It is the 4 o'clock game between the Birmingham Stallions and the Orlando Storm. Birmingham is going to Orlando in this one, and Orlando is favored at -6. The over/under is 44.5 points. I think a key storyline in this one is Orlando is either our best or second best team in the league, sitting at 4-1 right now. They came into this past week, undefeated, and actually dropped their first game of the season to the St. Louis Battlehawks, which you mentioned was a pretty big deal for Harrison Frost getting that win in that game. And mainly, it was kind of the storyline was that Orlando was kind of shut down in that game. They threw a touchdown, they ran a touchdown, and had a field goal, and that was about it. That was kind of the only action, and that second rushing touchdown didn't come till late in the game when it was kind of out of hand. So we're looking for Orlando kind of right the ship and get back to their winning ways. They are second highest. I'm sorry, they are the best team in defensive point differential, meaning that they allow the least points per game on the defensive side of the ball. So that's definitely something that I'll kind of be keeping an eye on. On the other side of the ball, however, Birmingham is kind of getting a little bit of a facelift with DTR under center. He had a very nice first start. Despite the outcome not going the way that I'm sure him or anyone else in Birmingham would have liked that game to have gone against DC. There was a whole lot of points being scored for the for the wrong team. So, but you know what? I don't want to overlook the fact that he still had 313 yards passing and 2 touchdowns, which is which is impressive in its own. But turnovers ended up ultimately being the name of the game here, which kind of allowed DC to get out to that lead and Birmingham to not recover on that one. So another kind of weird little tidbit to this one: these two teams did work up a trade where we saw Matt Corral going the other way in the DTR trade. So two familiar faces on either roster. So that'll be something to kind of keep an eye on as well.
Yeah.
KJ Hamler, we do love shouting out some of our receivers here. KJ Hamler has been kind of killing it. And he does face one of the softer pass defense matchups this week. So we could see a big game out of him in this one. And last but not least, Anthony McFarland, running back, is listed as questionable in this one. And if he can't go, Birmingham's ground game could kind of be in trouble here.
Yeah.
They've kind of struggled all season. I was kind of checking out the top 10 or the top rushing list, and Anthony McFarland's listed at 10th right now. Whereas on the other side of the ball, Jay Sean Corbin is third in the league in rushing. So Orlando seems to kind of be getting it done on the ground and through the air. So just something to kind of watch. They need to bounce back from a loss, and Birmingham needs to kind of try to limit some defensive some off opposing offenses a little bit better than they have in the recent couple weeks. So couple key storylines here. I think this one's a little more back and forth than maybe the last game we just talked about with DC. But one more time, Orlando is -6 in this one, Kyle. The over-under is 44.5. Where's your mind at? What do you think?
I think Orlando's winning this. They took their first loss
Mhm.
last week, and a rough one for them. Yeah, no, I think Orlando's still the better team. I think Birmingham's still got to figure this out. DTR could be the answer, but I think this is still Orlando's game. I keep staring at like all these past results for both of these teams, and it's just like one big
Mhm.
mystery as to what the hell this score is going to be. These two did play against each other in week 4, but that was a completely different team for both of them.
Mhm. I was 16-0
Yeah,
Orlando in that game, just to clue everyone in on that one.
give me the over. I think we're going to see more
Mm,
points this
okay.
game. I think I 16-0. That's a brutal score. I think the
You won't get a lot
scoring
out of that one.
no, I think the scoring we saw last week league wide, like across all teams, is going to continue this week. Maybe not. Yeah, give me the over. Give me the over. I want points. I want to root for something on a Sunday.
Yeah,
I'll
right.
root for points. So Orlando -6, over 44.5.
I am going to also go with Orlando -6. I just do not think Birmingham is very good, unfortunately.
Yeah.
They are tied for last in the UFL this season. And if you take a look at last week's scoring summary, you can kind of see that the defenders just started to slowly run away with that game, and that
Yeah.
was a better team that just kind of slowly started to exert its will over a worse team. And I do think we're going to see something similar. Um, I think last week might have been a little fluky for Orlando, and I think that we can expect them to kind of bounce back to their winning ways. Not to mention, Birmingham is giving up tied for second most points in the league this year at 130. They are just not. It's just not clicking for them this year. So even though DTR was a little flashy in the last game and put up some okay stats, I just don't know that he's going to be able to do that when it's a competitive game, and those might just kind of end up getting tacked on later in the game. So I'll also ride with you on -6. And I do like your reasoning on that over in this one, and I think we're seeing league points league wide kind of start to tick up as the weeks are going on here, and they're starting to get a little more comfortable in their offenses. So I think I'm going to go ahead and ride with the over 44.5 in this one. Just kind of double checking last week's matchups. I think 42 in the Battlehawks Storm game, but I expect the Storm to put up more points. Yeah, I'll go ahead. I'll take the over 44.5 in this one.
Let's ride, brother.
Screw it. I want to see the points. Kill me, right?
Yeah, I think we're just like it's a Sunday. Give us some points. We want to see some points on a Sunday.
Why not, right? Yep.
All right, everybody. That was it for our week 6 preview. Um, First of all, thank you for tuning in. If you are watching us, you can listen to us wherever you get your podcasts. And if you are listening to us, you can watch us on YouTube. In both places, just search UFL Weekly and you should be able to find us. Um, we promise not to take any multi week unannounced breaks. That was just, we're not ghosting you guys. I promise. Just schedule mishaps. It's all right. We're here.
Yeah. Unfortunate series of events.
Yeah, for real. Uh, with all that said, thank you for tuning in. Let us know in the comments which game you're excited for. Zach, I think if we have this to hammer this in, I think game of the week has to be Battlehawks Kings. I think that is probably the closest one here. And probably I think it's the only one. Yeah, it's the only one we didn't agree on for a spread. So we got to name that our game of the week.
I love it. The Kentucky Thursday game.
The Kentucky Derbs Day.
Boo.
Yeah, they'll probably have some cool names. All right, well, they're
We'll
workshopping.
workshop it. Yeah, we'll get
Yeah,
back
yeah,
to you.
yeah. We'll get back to the UFL. We'll be like, yo, we've got these cool names for you here for the Derbs Day game. Uh, Thank you for tuning in. That's our game of the week. Let us know yours, or let us know your picks of the week. Let us just let us know. Let us know how you're doing. Making sure all you listeners and viewers are doing well. Um,
Hmm.
but with all that, thank you for tuning in. Thank you for being here. And I hope you have a fantastic week 6. We'll see you next week.
See you.